All right, man.
All right, all right, all right. My name is Patrick Melton. This is the Sports Strength Club. I'm one half member, my co-host Keenan Duke. What's good, man?
What is happening, man? Oh my God.
Man, I'm just trying some proper 12.
Proper 12? What's that? Is that some
It is
whiskey?
a Irish whiskey that is being promoted. It's actually Conor McGregor's Irish whiskey.
Oh, nice.
You
Is it
know?
good? I've never had it before.
Not bad. Pretty good. I really like it. Very smooth, kind of Jameson-esque.
Okay.
Uh,
You drinking it straight up on the rocks, or you got it
on the
mixed with
rocks.
something? Okay. Trying to get that hair in the chest.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying. You know, but I bought it this weekend actually, and it's a real kind of. I can't really explain it. Like it's good with ginger ale.
I love ginger ale. I love whiskey and ginger ale.
I've never really had Irish whiskey before. Like, I mean, I have, but like actually bought like a bottle for myself.
Mhm.
So this is like my first bottle that I've actually bought for myself. And and the way that Conor McGregor's been, pushing it, I had to try it.
Yeah,
And
why not?
it's not bad. I recommend it. Proper 12.
All right.
It is Conor McGregor's new Irish whiskey that he's promoting. It's probably, $20 a bottle. Not bad.
Might want to be careful though. I feel like you might get in some fights with that. If Conor McGregor's
I might.
promoting it.
I might.
I'm just
What you drinking on tonight, bud?
I'm just drinking some coffee right now because with all this news that's going down, I feel like I need my energy to perk up a little bit so I can keep up with all this stuff that's going on. Got some crazy NFL trades going on. It's crazy, right? Not trades, but free agency.
Exactly. So breaking news just happened right now. Le'Veon Bell has agreed to go with the Jets. I believe it's a 4-year, $52 million deal. So, at this case, a lot of people are, saying that he probably should have taken, the deal with the Steelers, but I think it was more incentives with the Steelers and not as much guaranteed money. At this point, I don't know the structure and actually, what's in the contract, but just my assumption would be that he's getting more guaranteed money. Since the Jets had a little bit more money to give up for him. But yeah, man, a lot of free agency going on at this moment in time. We got some wide receivers that are getting that we want to talk about. We've got Russell Westbrook going crazy on a fan last night. Bryce Harper is criticizing the pitch clock. The conversation that we had last night about the Champions League today, Vegas. Was I right or was I right?
Yeah, you were right.
A little bit of a switch up today. We got the name game. That's going to be fun. And obviously our locks of the week. But first thing is first. The saga continues with Antonio Brown as this week he has been traded to your Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders. Also have Sean Jackson going back to the Eagles, and OBJ is a Brown.
Who saw that coming? I didn't see that coming. I wish you would have been able to see my face and my reaction while I was at work, and I just happened to look down on my phone when I got the notification. I was like, "What the?" I froze. It was like I was stuck with a deer in the headlights because I was just like, "What?" I was so confused as to what was happening.
Dude, OBJ, a Brown, Antonio Brown, a Raider, and Deshaun Jackson back to the Eagles.
Who cares?
We'll go right in. A lot of people care, man. It's a big deal, man. It's going back to the Eagles, man. That's a huge deal.
It's like 36.
He's that old, man. He's 2 years older than Antonio Brown. Yeah. Okay. Right. Antonio, to the Raiders. Who won, the Raiders or the Steelers? Got an article here. The Steelers verbally agreed to trade Antonio Brown to the Raiders this Sunday. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, Brown's 3-year contract, which is currently worth $38.9 million, will increase to $50 million $1 million in new deals with the Raiders as far as incentives goes. So the wideout receives a bump from 0 to 30 million, fully guaranteed, an 11.2 million raise over the next 3 years. Brown's also going to receive a revision to the 4th-year extension he negotiated in 2017, which is pushing it to a 79.2 million, and that's basically $19.8 million a year, which is first amongst wide receivers. Pittsburgh, what they got out of the deal was a 2019 third and fifth round draft pick in exchange for the wideout. And this is a report from Ian Rappaport. I just want to really discuss this in the, because a lot of people say that Antonio Brown won this and the Steelers lost. I look at it in two different ways. I think Antonio Brown won the war on getting his guaranteed money, and he pulled an NBA type move by causing ruckus, causing a lot of issues and problems so he can get what he wanted. He basically forced the Steelers' hands to trade him and push him out of the nest so he can get the money, because the contract that he originally had signed with the Steelers was not guaranteed. Now, obviously, I think that Antonio Brown, in his heart of hearts, would love to stay there with the Steelers? Absolutely. It's a great situation that he had going on. But with the issues that were going on with Ben Roethlisberger, issues that were going on with the coach and him doing his own thing, rubbed a lot of players the wrong way, and him not getting a guaranteed contract, who knows? Did he orchestrate all of this? Were people a part of this thing, for him to get this $30 million guaranteed? I really don't think Antonio Brown cared what team he went to besides
he didn't. Yeah.
But as long as he got his $30 million guaranteed, he's happy-go-lucky right now.
Oh, no, totally. I mean,
to kind of give you some perspective on this, Antonio Brown's entering into his 10th season, okay? And he had a 2018 season with 104 receptions, 1,297 yards receiving, and 15 touchdowns. And he's going to the Oakland Raiders for a 3rd and a 5th. Did the Steelers win or did the Raiders win?
I'm going to go with the Raiders and Antonio Brown. I just don't see – well, first of all, okay, so the Raiders – just to get this off the shelf, I feel like they won just because obviously they got one of the best receivers in the game. They needed somebody for Derek Carr to throw to, because Derek Carr I just don't think he's that good of a quarterback, and he needs all the help that he can possibly get. And so basically to have a number one receiver on your team can only help but bolster him up a little bit. So just having a player like that on your team, crucial and very important for them. So I think they won in that aspect, because they're definitely not going to get a receiver like that in the draft or anywhere like out there on the market. Well, I guess they could have with, Odell Beckham. But, besides that, the one that was clearly out on the market, there's no other receiver like that. So they win in that aspect. Antonio Brown wins because, like you alluded to, like you said, he got his guaranteed money. Like, that's a lot of guaranteed money. So, and that's what he wanted. And so, you get your guaranteed money. He's what, 30, 31?
30.
He's 30. Okay. So he's on the tail end of his career, right? So you get the money that you have needed for basically the rest of your life, and some. You're going to get some after that as well.
Absolutely.
So you're set up for basically life after football. And then on top of that, he's moving to basically Las Vegas. Exactly. And I feel like Antonio Brown is gung-ho about this. Like, why wouldn't he want to live in Las Vegas? Like, with his personality, like, not to mention the way he kind of likes to have, he likes the ladies, so plenty of them out there. Absolutely. You know what I mean? I just feel like that lifestyle is pretty suitable towards his personality. So why wouldn't he want to be in a city like that? So you have, your money, and you have a good city to be in, and you're close to Los Angeles. Like, why wouldn't he want to be out this way?
Well, you've got a good situation with the Raiders at this moment in time, because, they are moving to Las Vegas. And if you think about some of the faces of the franchise that they have right now, they truly only have one person that you can really get excited about, and that's John Gruden. Obviously, he signed that 10-year, $100 million deal. So this is a part of the process in year two that he's taking on, and he's bringing in someone that is a marquee name. I know that there's a lot of teams out there, the Jets, who just now finally brought in their marquee name. And I know that there's a few other franchises out there that are not football related that need to bring in a marquee name, the Knicks. But this is a good situation for the Las Vegas Raiders. You've got someone who obviously is in their prime right now, who's able to, stretch the field and get over the top for a quarterback who honestly has, struggled in the last couple of years with Derek Carr. This is a good opportunity for him to get realigned with his Pro Bowl caliber days that he has had earlier in his career. Does this make them an instant contender? No, I don't think so. But does this make them a very interesting team to watch for the next couple of years? Yeah. Absolutely. With the first round picks that they've acquired from other teams and the draft picks that they've got that are coming up here, not just this year, but also in 2020, I think they've got a good opportunity to make some noise. And when acquiring free agents, not just this year, but in 2020, this is a very, good-looking opportunity to come on board. It's easy to sell, obviously, because you're going to a new city. You've got a brand new stadium. This is a new life for an organization who has been looking to get back on top for a long time. And with the AFC West and how competitive it is, like I said, does this make them an instant contender, to make the playoffs? No, I think they've still got a lot of growing to do, but definitely be looking out for this team here within the next year or so, especially with the addition of Antonio Brown.
Yeah,
he definitely makes them very interesting.
Yeah, okay? No, he does.
At least.
So with all that, I agree with everything you just said. And so with that, I do believe that's what makes them winners in this situation. And the reason why I say the Pittsburgh Steelers are losers in this situation is because I just feel like they've done so many things. They've mishandled a lot of things, and this being one of them. And I think it all kind of started with the Le'Veon Bell situation. I think you could see the wheels starting to fall off with that. And so I think it just completely unraveled with, Antonio Brown. But to me, to only get a third and a fifth round pick for one of the best receivers currently in the game, I think you basically just got taken. Absolutely. I think at the very least, okay, maybe a first round's too much. I don't think it is. I think you could have finagled a first round pick. But at the very least, get a second round. At the very least, get at least one second round pick. You know what I'm saying? I think to not get at least a second round pick, I feel like you could have gotten a second and a third round pick, or at the worst, a second and a fourth round pick for Antonio Brown. But to get a third, like that's the best you can get is a third round pick for Antonio Brown and a fifth. I think you completely lost in that situation.
Well, and I agree, that they did lose in this situation. But I also think that, just looking at a big picture, there's a lot of GMs and a lot of teams that are looking at Antonio Brown, and they're playing against the Steelers. So they want to be able to try to maximize their opportunities on getting Antonio Brown, given the situation that the Steelers were in, because they were going to have to pay that $2 million roster bonus if they didn't get rid of him before free agency began.
No, I get it.
I think that the Steelers were so backed up as far as they wanted this distraction off of their hands so much that they were willing to basically part ways for a third and a fifth. That's how much they wanted Antonio Brown off of their hands.
But my thing is, I feel like they've been so stubborn about absolutely everything, and they've been so rigid in the way they do business that they basically handcuffed and shot themselves in the foot with everything. You can say they wanted him off their hands, but how long did we know that Antonio Brown was unhappy? if you like, we knew this like months before, you know, the free agency was going to hit. So if you knew that, at least a month or a couple months ahead of time, sit down with them. And if it's come to the point where is this relationship
Antonio Brown didn't
solvable?
want to sit down with him.
Well, then that's your answer. If a player doesn't even want to sit down with you, then you let them know, him and his team, hey, okay, so this clearly isn't working. You want to leave. You don't want to be here, so we will let you go if that is what you want. Like, all you have to do, like, of course he's going to respond to that. So if he responds to that and that is the case, then try and work out a deal. And then at that point, you probably could have got a first round for him. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And the thing is, I feel like the Steelers have been in such a position to where things have kind of been going on the decline, and you could see it a little bit, like I said, with the start of Le'Veon Bell, to where if that's the case, and especially with the way things have turned out with the Browns, where I think everyone can kind of say at this point the Browns are kind of the clear-cut winners, of this division. They should win this division next year.
Right.
So with that being the case, and with them kind of being set for a number of years now, with Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, you got Nick Chubb, and you got Kareem Hunt. Like, they should be good for for a while. So knowing that, and that's the team that you have to contend with every single year, why not, if you're on the trajectory to having to rebuild anyway, why wouldn't you, when you had the chance, try and get some high picks for Le'Veon Bell when you had the
Well, I
opportunity to?
also
Why
think that
wouldn't you try and get more picks for Antonio Brown? Like, you could have
there are
loaded up
some
and you
teams
didn't.
out there that I truly believe that did want to give them a first round for Antonio Brown.
But what
I
about Le'Veon
believe
Bell?
that
That's what I'm saying. Like, it
I
started with
believe that the
Le'Veon Bell.
Patriots tried to give them a first round, but in the Steelers' mind, they're like, okay, why would I want to trade Antonio Brown to the Patriots? Or there was teams out there who were waiting to see what the Steelers would do if they were going to let Antonio Brown walk or trade before the $2 million bonus or after. I think if the Steelers would have held out after this $2 million, roster bonus, I really do believe that the Steelers would have got a first round pick. But I also think that the Steelers were so ready to part ways that if that was the best available thing, and I want to trade him to a team that is most likely not going to contend right away and who's able to take on the contract and pay the money, I think that's what they were going to do. And all of this stuff, I think the wheels actually started unraveling before the Le'Veon Bell sit out. I think the wheels started unraveling when the year before, when Antonio Brown was on Facebook Live, and basically posted the post-game speech on Facebook Live and was making fun of the coach and not really paying attention and all that stuff. And then he got into it with a couple of beat writers about him actually wanting to be there, being traded, and spats that he had with the offensive coordinators or coaches, and then Big Ben coming out and calling people out. This thing has been
It's been toxic for a while now, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you know that it's been this toxic for this long, either deal with it or start to make plans to rebuild and reshape your team. And you have such great talent and players on your team that the returns that you could have gotten for them during that time frame you could have almost basically put yourself back on top, just with the
Right.
amount of picks that you would have been able to get and the amount of players, young players coming out of the draft that you would have been able to acquire with those picks from these high quality players that, yeah, while giving them away seems stupid, like if the locker room is toxic, like no toxic locker room wins a championship. So if that's what you have, you either have to fix it or you have to let those people go and start to rebuild.
Right. And Antonio Brown's one of those talents where I'm looking at it from a GM standpoint. He was a 5th round guy who was not, I mean, if anybody was projecting Antonio Brown to do what he was doing right now as a 5th rounder, I think you'd be crazy. But he obviously did what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a first round talent as far as a trade goes. I truly believe that. But I also see the Steelers side, which I still think that they're losers in this situation, even though that they lost Antonio Brown, even though that they lost Le'Veon Bell. They're looking at it as addition by subtraction. They get rid of the distractions, and they'll be able to move forward regardless of what talent that they may have. And they have a historically, they've never paid big time money to running backs. Yeah. Historically, they've never paid big time money to wide receivers either, especially guaranteed money.
Yeah.
And they've always valued what? Defense, quarterbacks, offensive linemen. That's what they've always valued. So I'm not surprised that they got rid of Antonio Brown. I think Antonio Brown forced his way out and pulled an NBA move, which looked to the future to more top tier players, which I'm only talking about the top 1% of NFL position players that are not a quarterback. Okay.
Yeah.
Who can finagle and finesse their way and getting guaranteed money. This is a rare thing that has happened with Antonio Brown, but look to see more players that are of his caliber. If they're unhappy, push to see, try to get guaranteed money, especially if they're dissatisfied with their team or they're dissatisfied with their contract.
But I think there's an interesting with you saying that. I think it's interesting to see the way that Antonio Brown and that whole situation played out with him and the Steelers compared to what we just saw with Odell Beckham and the Giants and him going to the Browns, where you didn't hear anything about that. You didn't hear about Odell Beckham really being unhappy per se and like wanting to get out of there and forcing the Giants' hand or anything like that. Like that stuff went completely under radar, clearly because it's caught so many people by surprise. So with you saying that, like, and you would think, and that's kind of my query with why the Giants let Odell Beckham leave, because everyone's kind of sitting here saying it's because of his personality and they were tired of the antics. But at the same time, Absolutely. It's like, what antics has Odell Beckham really done? Like
I'll tell you one for sure is before the season started, he had the incident in France with, a picture of what could have been cocaine, what could have not been cocaine, that appeared on his IG story, his IG live story, and there was a lot of speculation about that. Obviously, all the antics that he had on the sidelines and kicking nets and getting pissed off and doing all that sorts of stuff. And then I think the nail in the coffin, along with some injuries that he's had, okay, which has kept him off the field, but the beginning of this year with the interview with, I forgot who the interview was with, but he had Lil Wayne and stuff with him, and they asked him about the Giants. They asked him about what the future was, and he basically, I'm paraphrasing, he basically said that if I had more of a mobile quarterback or, a little bit more of a aware younger quarterback, that we'd probably be able to do some stuff. Really, he was alluding to Eli Manning and basically saying he's too old, he's a statue, and he's not going to be able to give me the ball the way that I need to help this team win. And so whatever else happened during the season, which I know that he had some things here and there, but they're a real cookie cutter organization too. They like real boring guys who just go there and do their job, like Saquon. Those are the type of guys that they like.
But should
Odell Beckham's?
But should what he said about Eli really be the nail in the coffin? Because it's not like he just flat out said, Eli sucks and that I need a new quarterback. Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, who hasn't been saying that? It's not like he was talking bad about a quarterback where everyone's like, "What's your problem?" Like he's totally fine. Like, why are you talking bad about your quarterback? Everybody's been saying it's about time for Eli to leave, like, or retire or go to another team because he's got Odell Beckham and he kind of seems to be wasting away with Eli at the helm. Like, everyone's kind of already been saying that. So is it so bad that the player that they've been kind of saying has been suffering because of that actually says that thing to go along with what everybody else is already saying?
Well, you look at the two situations with Odell Beckham and Antonio Brown, which we're going to dive into Odell Beckham in just a second. They're somewhat of the same. They're getting into it or not necessarily seeing eye to eye with quarterbacks that have been with their organizations for a long time and have won multiple Super Bowls.
But you can't be beholden to something that
we're seeing, where some of these guys should probably just, play their part, in a sense.
But you can't be so beholden to, yeah, you won a Super Bowl for us twice. Yeah, we get that and we appreciate that and we're never going to forget that. But at the same time, your play has declined to a point that's literally hurting the team. And if we have a chance to re-up and get a quarterback that can come in and do a better job, probably, then why wouldn't you take that route? Like, yes, we all know that Eli is, a great quarterback because he's won Super Bowls. But at the same time, like, he is hurting the team currently. And if you have a chance to get a new quarterback, then do that, because you already have the pieces that so many teams are in search for. You have a marquee running back. You have had a marquee receiver. Those are two huge components. And if all you need is a quarterback, which there are several capable of leading your team, why are you going to get rid of the receiver, the young receiver, in favor of keeping this declined shell of a self quarterback?
Because they're the way that the NFL is set up, and there's just the way that football is set up, period. There's been a lot of teams who have won Super Bowls without star receivers. And it's kind of a trend. I mean, it's not even a trend, I believe. I somewhat believe it as well. I don't need a star wide receiver to win Super Bowls. And then if I've got a star wide receiver who
But do you need a good quarterback?
Is a distraction, absolutely. You have to, and that's how they're looking at it, is that the hierarchy of it all, the quarterback is the most important, and then everybody else falls underneath.
But you need a good quarterback, right? Do you have that with Eli right now? And if the answer is no, then why are you going to get rid of the receiver? If the receiver is good, but you're
too many distractions.
He's not a distraction.
That's how Dave Gettleman is.
He doesn't. I honestly don't think he's
outspoken receivers and outspoken players on his team, especially when they just signed him a big time contract. Just go out there and play football. Is how.
But you know what he's asking for. You know why he's kind of mouthing off right now is because of the quarterback. And if you need a new quarterback anyway, then go ahead and make that change, because if you give him that quarterback and he's good, what is there for Odell to complain about? He's not going to complain. He hasn't really been that kind of player. Like, he wasn't like that really when he first came in, when Eli was balling. Like, no, like, he was pretty quiet. He went about his business, did what he had to do. But obviously, you see,
I'd have to slightly disagree with that.
No. I mean, there's a difference between a player being emotional on the field versus him mouthing off and just saying stupid stuff about his own quarterback. He never talked bad about Eli Manning. He was just very emotional, and that was the one complaint about Odell Beckham, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes teams need emotional players to rile up and like really galvanize your team. If you have a quiet team, sometimes you just don't have that energy. There's not that energy coming from, a certain player. And sometimes I think you need that. Yes, you need quiet players, but at the same time, it is nice to have a vocal player on your team. Sometimes it helps.
Right.
So just because the player is emotional doesn't mean that he's necessarily bad for your team. And I think that's just what he was.
Before we dive into Odell Beckham, I want to give you three players who were all pretty much the same as far as being emotional and kind of having a flair. I want to bring up Terrell Owens, Ocho Cinco, zero rings, Randy Moss, 0 rings. Just let that sit in.
Did Randy Moss not win with the Patriots?
No, he did not. And they're all the same type of players. So by the trend of it and how it looks, I know that it seems like what the Giants are doing and losing, which in my case, I feel like they should have just drafted a quarterback last year to go along with their, not Saquon Barkley, but drafted a young hot quarterback. They had an opportunity to trade up and get Baker Mayfield. They didn't. They got Saquon Barkley. Not saying that Saquon Barkley's not a great player, but you're talking about the face of your franchise. You're talking about longevity. You're talking about an opportunity to, move into the future. You start off with your quarterback. And They
I
had an
don't think.
opportunity to do that, and they didn't do that last year, you know?
Well,
So
even so, Baker Mayfield is not their type of guy, so you can't say that they would have drafted Baker Mayfield because if
exactly.
mouthy people are not their type of guy, you can't say that they would have drafted him. So, and if Baker Mayfield was the best quarterback in that class, then why wouldn't they have taken Saquon?
Yeah, the Giants don't like short guys. I don't know what it is with
So
them.
then, what do
They're
the
just
Giants like? Is the question.
obviously the Giants like Eli Manning
Well,
because
good luck winning another
they
Super
want to
Bowl then.
continue. They want to continue to give him money, and that's great for me. That's great for Cowboy fans because hey, that's 2 wins for us. So Odell Beckham, which we've loosely talked about already, since entering in 2014, Beckham ranks third in targets with 10.4, fourth in receptions per game with 6.6, third in receiving yards per game with 92.8, and third in receiving touchdowns with 44. His new battery mate, as Chris Wrestling would describe it, Mayfield has established an NFL rookie record of for passing touchdowns. So everyone knows here, New York has agreed to trade Odell Beckham to the Cleveland Browns, basically for a first-round pick and the second round. I'm sorry, and the third round pick was given to the Browns, but and they also got safety Jabril Peppers from the Browns,
And he was a first round pick, like what, 2
and he was
years
a
ago?
first round pick as well. The Browns are now in a situation where they have a chance to compete. There's really no excuse at this moment in time. You know, Odell Beckham going over and being with his old college roommate and college teammate, Jarvis Landry, basically best friend, is a great opportunity for them. They've got a great core of young skill guys with David Njoku. They've got Jarvis Landry. They've got
Nick
Odell
Chubb,
Beckham. They've got Nick Chubb. There's also
Kareem
another
Hunt.
receiver, young cat that out of University of Florida that they drafted last year. That's a burner. And then of course the defense that they've been building up for the last 5 seasons. They're definitely a contender at this moment in time to compete for the AFC North. But what does this do for Odell Beckham? What does this do to the Giants? In this situation for me, I think the Browns obviously are the winners in this case because they get an opportunity to really grow with a bunch of young, skilled guys. The backlash on this is where do the Giants go from here, and how do they fix the hole and the production of an Odell Beckham?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of at a loss because I don't know what the Giants are really thinking. I mean, I thought they did a great job by picking Saquon Barkley last year. But at the time, I was saying that just because they had Odell, and I
Right.
thought that at that point, all you need now is a quarterback to, succeed Eli. And the fact that now that all you have basically is Saquon, and as great as Saquon played last year, I can't help but think a large reason for that is because of Odell. When teams have to worry about a receiver like that, it makes it very hard to stack the box. But now that they don't have a receiver like that, I think you will see Saquon's production go down.
I hear you.
So,
And the thing is
and
with
if you have a
Odell, is he going to be healthy enough to play? That's been
well, I
the
mean,
glaring issue. He hasn't played a full season
well
in
last year
2
was
seasons.
well last year his injury was a fluke injury. I mean, that was just an unfortunate. It's not like he got injured because his bones, like a guy literally came down on his ankle, like, and we all saw it. Like it was like that. He can't do anything
Right,
about that. Like
preseason
that's
games versus the Browns.
well, yeah, but it's like I don't really fault that injury for him. Like that's not like a recurring injury that I get more worried when players like sustain recurring injuries, like Tyler Eifert. He keeps getting injured he keeps sustaining the same type of injury. Whereas with what happened to Odell, like that's just kind of like a one-off. To me, he's kind of like Keenan Allen, where Keenan Allen had a whole bunch of injuries, but they were all kind of freak injuries, that
Right.
they weren't the same thing over and over again. So I'm not really worried about that with Odell. I think he'll be fine. And I think he'll do great with the Browns and Baker Mayfield in that offense. I think that team is really trending in a very positive direction. Like I think their trajectory is heading up fast.
I think it's a good situation for Odell because now he has more say so as far as how kind of the offense goes. Not to say that he's going to trump over the head coach or the offensive coordinator. Everyone is kind of relatively the same age. And this is just a theory of mine. When he was with the Giants, their organization is just a real no nonsense type of organization.
Well, that's what
Okay.
I was. Yeah,
They don't really, there's a lot of organizations that are like that. And they're just no nonsense. We don't care how talented you are, how many touchdowns you catch. These are the rules, and that's what it is. And it was extremely rigid in that standpoint. And I understand star players get some leeway here and there, but in the Antonio Brown situation, whether you like it or not, I think he got way too much leeway. That's kind of ridiculous. Sort of some of the things that were going on in that locker room, but not to say that it's in the same degree of Odell Beckham. I think that Dave Gettleman, was kind of getting a lot of pressure from maybe people in the locker room, maybe coaches, could potentially be Eli, where I'm not here, I could see Eli talking right now and saying basically, I've been here for, 10 plus seasons. I've won 2 Super Bowls. I'm not trying to take lip from some kid. I've seen receivers dime a dozen. I'm not really trying to take lip from this kid. I need to be able to do my thing, get him out of here. But for Odell, the situation that he's in right now, he's in a young, thriving offense. It almost reminds me of like a souped up college team. Think about all their skill players that they've had. Nobody is over 5 years of experience in the NFL, whether it be their running back position, their quarterback position, their receiver position, or their tight end position. No one is over 5 years of experience. And it's like being on a new startup, in Silicon Valley. I'd rather go to this new hot young startup, kind of like how Facebook was, instead of go grind an axe over at Apple or over at Microsoft, who's been around for a really long time. Maybe their environment is a certain type of way, but I want to be in the new young hot thing. And that's kind of what Odell Beckham is. And I think that he's going to flourish and be a lot more happy, and their situation is going to end up being real well.
yeah. No, I agree. I think just the big thing is he's in an environment with players who have the same kind of temperament as him.
Yeah.
I think him and Baker Mayfield have a very similar temperament where I think they'll get along. And along with him already being friends and former teammates with Jarvis Landry, obviously helps. So you have that as well. I feel like Nick Chubb is just a constant player, solid guy to have around. And, he's
Young.
obviously not outspoken like the rest of them, but you don't need that because you already got those types of players. So again, like I said, to go with the makeup of a team, it's nice to have players who are outspoken and very energetic. And it's also nice to have those players who are just very constant, not low energy, but just come in, do their job. They get along with everybody. And that's what you can expect from them. And I feel like that's what Nick Chubb kind of brings along with that. So I just think the environment is more fitting for a player like that, for Odell. So I think, yeah.
Absolutely. You've got to think about it, the relationship between your quarterback and your receiver. Now, the relationship between Odell Beckham and Baker Mayfield, they can go out and go have a day of shopping. They can go out and, pop up on the scene on Hollywood Boulevard and people snap pictures. They're not going to do that in New York. He's not going to do that with Eli Manning. He's a lot older guy. He's 2 different generations, man. And this is where my other thing kind of comes into place, is where these are 2 different generations in how they view not only the game, but just life in general. Eli Manning is not going to be the type of guy to go hang. You're not going to spot those 2 hanging out, eating dinner together, at the hottest restaurant in town. You're just not. But you're more likely to see Odell Beckham and Baker Mayfield do that, along with Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, Nick Chubb. I mean, all of these guys are young, and that's what it's about. Eli Manning's not hopping on Instagram Live and saying, oh, hey, I'm with Odell Beckham tonight. No, it's just not happening. But you think about the chemistry, the instantaneous chemistry that's going to happen here with the Browns. I think that that's absolutely going to happen right away in comparison to what it was with the New York Giants. It was all business. It's all football, and that's what it is. There is no outside of, the locker room hanging out with Eli and Odell. There's not long series of text messages and exchanges like, oh, hey, bro, what are you doing tonight? Hey, FaceTime me right quick. Eli ain't got time for that. That dude old. Baker Mayfield, absolutely. This is definitely a match made in heaven. I think the Browns are absolutely winners in this whole entire thing. And I'm really looking forward, and I'm anxious to see actually what happens this year. And
yeah,
I think they're going to end up winning the AFC North. If they don't, they're definitely going to the playoffs, man. I'm going to go ahead and just book it right now.
Yeah, no, they're going to the playoffs. I put money on it.
Well, our third wide receiver that we want to talk about, DeSean Jackson, is making a return to the Philadelphia Eagles. If you are a Cowboys fan, you do not like this. For how many years that we got torched up by this guy. All right. This is a good situation for him because he gets out of a toxic situation out of the Buccaneers with Jameis Winston. And we all know the problems with Jameis Winston. I mean, geez, it went from allegations to rape to stealing crab legs to groping Uber drivers. I mean, the dude's got some mental issues going on. And him and DeSean Jackson just did not see eye to eye in the Buccaneers, which I thought would be a good situation for DeSean Jackson, but it ended up not being that way. Obviously, DeSean Jackson was one of those Chip Kelly guys that got shipped off along with LaShawn McCoy, but he is making a return to the Eagles. $13 million guaranteed. The Eagles send a 6th-round pick in 2019 to Tampa, and they get back a 7th. DeSean Jackson, still one of the top deep threats in the game. What does this do for the Eagles, and what does this do for Carson Wentz and his resurgence and trying to get back on top and getting the Eagles back to the playoffs?
I think it's a nice addition for the Eagles. I mean, when I heard about this trade, it's not anything that I jumped all over, was like particularly wild about, or was like, oh, this is big news. Like, I was like, okay, cool. Like, great. I mean, honestly, I was just like, okay, cool. Good for them. Like, I mean, DeSean Jackson, yeah, he's a good deep threat, but I mean, he's clearly past his prime. So, he can still do his thing, but I don't see him making a huge difference in that offense. I mean, he'll help for sure, but I'm not sitting here looking at that team and thinking, the Eagles.
As a Cowboys fan, this absolutely scares me. Reason is,
but y'all's defense is so good. Like, I think you can shut that down. I don't see that being.
They've got just such a loaded offense already as far as the wide receivers go. I mean,
you've
got a third-year guy coming in, Nelson Aguilar. You've got Golden Tate. You've got Zach Ertz, a decent running game, and now they've got the addition of DeSean Jackson, who's not going to demand a double team. More so, who's going to demand a double team is most likely going to be Zach Ertz. This guy can still blow the top off the roof. I mean, you saw it in the first 4 games with Ryan Fitzpatrick and the research, and God bless Ryan Fitzpatrick. I love him to death, but he made DeSean Jackson. I mean, that's all he needs is somebody who could throw him the football deep. The guy's only going to run 2-3 routes anyway. He's going to run a deep post, a 9.
So
that's pretty much it.
I'll tell you this. I think the addition of DeSean Jackson will be amplified if the Eagles wind up getting like Mark Ingram or something like that, because their running game, I think, obviously is the weakest right now, to where defenses might not have to worry about that so much and they can focus more on the receivers. Whereas if they end up getting someone like Mark Ingram, then DeSean Jackson can cause some havoc. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that will be important for them to get a running back that can really threaten Not to say that they have bad running backs. I think Josh Adams did a fine job.
Right, Josh Adams did do a fine job. Jay Ajayi is going to be coming off of his injury. Obviously, you've got Darren Sproles, Wendell Smallwood, and Corey Clement.
They're going to get rid of
somebody's going to go eventually. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but as a Cowboys fan and being torched up by this guy so many times, you better believe that he's trying to get back at the Cowboys, Redskins, and Giants. And you better believe that he will be dancing in the end zone at some point in time against any of these teams. And that scares me. Yeah. I'm just saying. I don't care if he's 32. The dude can still run.
Yeah, he can still burn. He's still got jet fuel.
Dude still got jet fuel. Hey, I got lighter fluid in my leg. You got propane, and he still has jet fuel. Okay,
man, can I at least get some unleaded or something? Dang, propane?
Nah, bro, propane. You're propane.
Right,
come on, man. Hey, like I said, we will be continuing the NFL free agent frenzy. This is just wide receiver additions. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell did just get signed by the Jets. He is going to gang green, gang. We will see how that plays out after a year sitting out for Le'Veon Bell. I want to talk about Russell Westbrook, man. And last night, he was caught again going off on a fan, okay, because he was getting heckled. I'm going to let you take a listen to this, and you tell me what you think. He really gonna do it. He really will. Nah. So last night, Russell Westbrook got into it with a Utah Jazz fan. Mm-hmm. All right. Apparently there was an exchange between the both of them because of a heckler. Tim McMahon wrote from NBA.com, ESPN, Russell Westbrook expressed no regrets about the heated exchange with a fan during Oklahoma City Thunder's win over the Jazz Monday night, saying that to him a threat, "I'll F you up," to the man and his wife was an emotional response to a completely disrespectful comment that was directed towards him. The exchange, occurred while Westbrook was on the near end of the line of the court during the second quarter, was caught on video and went viral after being posted on Twitter. According to Westbrook, the man told him to get down on your knees like you used to, end quote. Westbrook considered the comment racial and inappropriate. This is Tim McMahon from ESPN. Westbrook was fined $25K last night. Okay, or for last night's antics. I just want to ask you straight up, is Russell in the right? Is Russell in the wrong for talking this way to a heckling fan?
No, I don't.
Was it justified?
I think it's completely justified. I don't think he's in the wrong at all. I think it's ridiculous that he got fined for that. I don't understand how time and time again people are allowed to say and kind of do whatever they want to celebrities, and it's okay, and celebrities and athletes are supposed to have thick skin and be okay with that kind of stuff. Like, that's abuse, like, plain and simple. Like, that is abuse. It doesn't matter who you are, that's abusive. And for a person to do that to another person is wrong. I don't care if it's an athlete or that guy. And I don't know, the only part that I will say is a little uncalled for, which I don't know the full context. So, and this is why I say this, is when he said, "I'll F you and your wife up," to bring the wife into the situation. But then again, I don't know if the wife said anything. Now, if the wife was going along with her husband and saying inappropriate stuff to him as well, then I don't really find that too offensive. Obviously, the offensive part is that he's talking about, messing up a woman. So that in itself is wrong. But again, I'll just refer back to people. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, to just say disrespectful stuff like that, knowing in a sense that you're going to suffer no repercussions for what you're doing. That's the only reason why people do that kind of stuff, is because they know and feel that they won't have any consequences for saying that kind of stuff, because
Absolutely.
like society is kind of put forth, if you're a celebrity or you're an athlete, you're supposed to have thick skin and you're not supposed to respond. So if someone's not supposed to respond to something that you're saying when it's disrespectful and harmful and abusive, why wouldn't a person do anything like that if they're
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. This is something that I've actually had happen in my own life. Okay.
We both have.
We both have in our own lives racially charged comments towards athletes while you're playing. And obviously you can't go into the stands and fight a guy, but you know, for Russell Westbrook to come out and argue with that person or say something back, the fan, you know, some people sit there and say, well, the fan won, they got underneath his skin. I don't think that that's the case. I think that's an L for not only just the fan, but it's an L for that organization, because these are the fans that are representing your team. These are the fans that are representing your brand. And if Russell Westbrook feels a certain type of way every single time he goes into town, and Utah has had historically fans who have attacked players verbally through racial slurs, gay slurs, whatever it may be, that's a problem. And I have no issue whatsoever on how he reacted. Would I have wanted him to say something different as far as how he, you know, got caught on camera and what he said? Sure, I can make that argument on a different, completely different, you know, on a different stance. But him reacting the way that he did, I don't have any issues with that whatsoever, because I think that it was warranted.
No,
the fans said, I quote, "Get down on your knees like you used to." And there's no telling what other things that were said in between then. We don't know if there was sounds that were made or maybe names that were called before that, or what kind of things that were said in the first quarter, or what kind of things that were said in warm-ups, or what kind of things that were said coming down the tunnel. We don't know. We know that's what he reacted to. And for me, that's enough, because this Jazz fan, Shane Kiesel, actually got some airtime last night. And I'm paraphrasing in this sense. He basically told Westbrook, because he has some ice on his knees, like, oh, you need to ice your knees. This is what he said, that, you know, he allegedly had shouted out to Westbrook and they had got into it. But on two accounts, there was another player from the Thunder. I can't remember his name at this moment in time. I hate that I can't. But he literally verified exactly what Westbrook just said, that this guy said, get down on your knees like you're supposed to. Now, whether you think that's racist or sexual or whatever it may be, it doesn't matter, because I remember reading some of the comments of these, you know, people, these IG warriors, okay, who like to comment and everything. Oh, well, it didn't sound racist to me. I don't give a damn what it sounds like. Somebody says something like that to me and they're within arm's length, better believe I'm going to say something back, especially if I've had a history with these fans in this particular city.
No, I think it's, like you said, there's under no circumstances that's comment acceptable. It doesn't matter what you're referring to. And it doesn't, you know, if it's racial, makes it even worse. If it's sexual, makes it even worse. And the fact that this guy is going to sit here and say that I said that he needs to ice his knees. If you look at the video, Russell Westbrook already has ice on his knees. What is he talking about?
Already has ice on his knees.
What is he talking about? So that's clearly a lie. And the fact that someone else, a teammate, confirmed, and I'm sure if they asked other people, they'd probably confirm what Russell Westbrook said the guy said. So that to me is just completely uncalled for. And my problem with all of this is how is Russell Westbrook supposed to react to it? Because he's always, people like that are, in a sense, we're always supposed to take the high ground.
Right.
You know, someone can do something terrible to us, but we always have to take the high ground. So what is it that he was supposed to say? How was he supposed to conduct and respond to something like that in that
Well,
situation? If he doesn't
I have
say
somewhat
anything,
of a
that
solution.
type of behavior is allowed to continue. Does he go to the Utah Jazz organization and like, hey, this person is saying this kind of stuff, get them out of here? Like, you need to bring attention to that kind of stuff in a way to where that type of behavior is not condoned. And what you were, and to kind of go back to what you were saying earlier about this reflects poorly on the Jazz organization, is that the fact that the NBA and all that fine Russell Westbrook is kind of saying that, yeah, even though the fan did this and this was unacceptable, Russell Westbrook was also in the wrong. And so we're going to fine you this. When no, you need to take care of that action that the fan did and correct that. You shouldn't punish Russell Westbrook for reacting to something that shouldn't have happened to him in the first place.
Right.
Like that
And
type
this
of
fan has been banned from the state. He's no longer allowed to come back. This fan, Shane Kiesel, has been permanently banned from Jazz basketball games. But my thing is kind of answer your question as far as how can Russell Westbrook handle this. I know that he had a similar incident before where he actually had a security guard say, hey, he got a security guard say, hey, this guy's being verbally abusive. He needs to leave. And that's the kind of solution that I would have wanted him to take. The thing is where I'm not mad about, I have no issues whatsoever with the reaction on how he, what he said to the fan. Okay. I have an issue with the brand that he's representing, whether it be Oklahoma City Thunder, NBA. That's why he got fined. But at the same time, somebody caught him on camera. Okay. If he wasn't ever caught on camera, I don't think that he would have been fined $25K. And I don't think this would have been an issue. But for future incidents that happen like this, just grab a security guard, tell him this guy's being verbally abusive, get him out of here. And they're most likely going to get him out of there.
But the thing is that situation going to be recorded if he doesn't act that way? Because the only reason, like you said, this is getting so much traction is because someone caught him on camera, and the only reason why someone whipped their camera out was because they saw, oh, here's Russell Westbrook flipping out on this guy who said something
and he
to him.
threatened the dude's wife.
And my thing is, yeah, the nice and kind of respectful way to go about that would be, yeah, let's get the security guard and get this involved. But at the same time, this type of behavior kind of has to be brought to light because it needs to be brought to a larger audience on, hey, this type of behavior isn't acceptable. Because if there's no camera, then it's just a one-off, and everyone can no one's going to know about this. No one's going to know that, oh, this type of behavior exists. It's just like the same stuff with, like, all of a sudden you're seeing all these videos of cops actually shooting black guys all the time for no reason. Like, without that, if it's just a one-off, the larger society has no clue and has no idea that this is a type of behavior that needs to be corrected. So I do think that while, yeah, there is a respectful way to go about it, at the same time, I think it's good that it got brought to a large audience, because that type of behavior just can't be accepted anywhere.
And I think that people need to realize that the entertainment is on the court, the entertainment's on the field, the entertainment's on the ice, whatever it is that you're watching. Okay. The entertainment is not the fans that are sitting there heckling people, heckling players that are on the field or on the ice or whatever it may be. My biggest qualm is that as fans, okay, there needs to be a policing around fans.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of behavior is unacceptable. I understand that it's going to happen with the diehard fans that are out there. Obviously, if you're sitting in the black hole for the Raiders, I'm pretty sure there's not a lot of policing going around. If you're sitting in the dog pound of the Cleveland Browns, I'm pretty sure there's not a lot of policing going around. But now, since fans can't throw stuff on the field, they'll get ejected. Now, since fans can't, spit or, throw any foreign objects or whatever like that, they have their voice, okay? In an intimate setting like basketball, where you're able to be so close to the players, which last night the NBA did issue a warning to certain fans, and there is a code of conduct with the NBA, but it seems like it's not hitting home for a lot of people because this incident keeps occurring And this incident keeps occurring with Russell Westbrook. Now, I'm not saying that Russell Westbrook is the problem. I'm saying that the fans obviously know who to get on to get a reaction.
Yeah.
But same situation kind of happened last year with Adam Jones in Boston. Same situation has happened in numerous soccer games that we've read about, with racial slurs.
So that's the thing. Like, that's the common denominator. It's clearly
a common thing.
This, and that's the thing. Like, if you know that the common denominator is just a simple fact that this type of stuff just happens to keep happening to black players, then again, I don't think that you should fine or penalize the black athletes in the situation. What you need to correct are the fans in society who's allowed to kind of perpetuate this type of behavior. That's the course of action that you need to take, because again, Adam Jones isn't going to act that way. Russell Westbrook isn't going to act that way if that type of behavior isn't perpetrated upon them.
Absolutely.
So if you want to stop and keep a shiny image on these players, and these players aren't going to do anything that's going to look bad on you, why don't you stop the bad behavior of the fans? And that's, these actions that are perpetrated upon them.
With there being 35, 45, 55,000 people in the stands, it's hard to police that sort of behavior from all levels in the stands. But what is easy to police, I believe, is anybody who's close to the players. Okay. If there's any sort of activity or there's any sort of racial slurs, gay slurs, sexual oriented, all that. Exactly. I don't give a dang what it is. I get it. Fans are so hyped. You get a little alcohol in you. You want to jeer and tell people that, oh, you suck. Oh, this, whatever. But it gets to a point where you can't cross certain lines.
Yeah,
I don't give a damn what it is.
Yeah, like no one, like, as a former athlete, and you can attest to this as well. Like, to go to someone else's home field, stadium, whatever, and have those fans heckle you to a degree of like, hey, you suck, blah blah blah, and kind of like jab at you in that kind of way is kind of expected, and to a certain degree, it's kind of like, this is kind of funny. It's fun. It's part of the game. But like you said, there's a certain line that shouldn't be crossed, and I feel that when those lines are crossed, the correct action that not only the league and the teams need to take is to have those players back, because in the end, those players did nothing wrong. What happened was those fans crossed the line. And so what I feel like the correct course of action in those situations should be is that you deal with the fan and you issue a statement to the degree of, listen, we didn't punish this player because he wasn't in the wrong. This fan was out of line, and this type of behavior won't be tolerated. So for anyone else looking to possibly do this type of behavior, just know that it's not tolerated and you will be dealt with. This isn't the fault of Russell Westbrook. This isn't the fault of Adam Jones. This isn't the fault of X player. They did nothing wrong. So you need to have those players back in those situations, and you need to deal with society and those fans first.
Absolutely. I think that the NBA, the Utah Jazz organization, did a great job by, banning this guy and banning the other people who have been involved in this. They should not be allowed to come back to a Jazz game. Honestly, they should not be allowed to be a part of any sort of athletic events that are professional, especially if they've got the money to be courtside. I'm just curious to know what kind of background this guy has. If you get an opportunity to look at the interview, the dude's wearing a camo Jazz hat, and he kind of looks like a good old boy. I'm not saying that he's racist, okay? But according to some of these tweets that he's had, since everybody wants to go back in people's Twitter histories,
he's got some symptoms.
There's some clues out there that are pointing towards that he most likely said, get down on your knees like he used to, then icing up your knees.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying, like I said, I'm not an investigator. I'm not Alfred Hitchcock, but hey, I'm just saying.
No, yeah.
On the other news, Bryce Harper Bryce Harper's criticizing the pitch clock, man. This dude, Bryce. First off, Bryce Harper has been in everything, but topic in hand is that Bryce Harper criticizes the pitch clock for the MLB and basically tells fans, if you don't want to come to the game, then don't come. Article pushed out by Parker White from 12up.com. Basically, Bryce Harper's been a member of the Philadelphia Phillies for a hot minute, and he's already in public about recruiting Mike Trout to Philadelphia when he's a free agent in 2020. Now he's giving his opinion on the pace of the game and the pitch clock specifically. He is not a fan. And I quote, pitch clocks and all, if that's what it's going to come down to in a baseball game, don't come. We are not a timed sport, end quote. Keenan Duke, what do you think about Bryce Harper and giving his opinion about the pitch clock, him being one of the faces of franchise, not only just the face of the franchise for the Philadelphia Phillies, but a face of the MLB? How is this bringing fans in?
Obviously, that kind of attention.
What I want to know.
Well, in today's society where bad behavior is rewarded, not to say that this is necessarily bad behavior, but kind of rebellious behavior is rewarded. It just brings more attention to the game. So, he probably helped in that sense. But to hit on what he was talking about, I completely agree with him. I'm not the biggest fan of the pitch clock. Not to say that I'm totally against it, but at the same time, I don't think that's one of the things that baseball and the MLB should be really honing in on, ways to make the game better and more enticing for fans and to watch the game and be, interested in the game of baseball. I don't think that's the right route, because we all know baseball isn't a time game. Like, you can't rush the sport no matter how hard you try. Like, there's things, and pitchers need to take whatever time, not to say that they need to be taken forever, but if you rush pitchers, they'll make mistakes, and batters also get uncomfortable if things get too rushed. Like, they have to kind of be comfortable as well. Like, hitting and pitching is very hard, so you kind of need to settle in whatever groove that you get into in order to do your job correctly to the best of your ability. So I don't think the pitch clock necessarily helps, and I agree with them. I just think there are so many other ways that MLB could. I think there are other things that the MLB could do to make the game better.
Exactly. And I think with this, with the generation that we're living in and the generation that's after us, everything is such instant gratification. And this is actually reportedly the lowest percentage of youth that have actually entered into baseball within the last 5 years or so. So obviously baseball as a sport for the youth is declining, but the speed of the game, I don't know how you can necessarily speed up the game. I know that they want to put a pitch clock in there, but at the same time, I know that in the NCAA, in the Southeastern Conference, the SEC, they've applied a pitch clock, and they've shaved games down by 10 or 15 minutes. I know that the MLB has implemented in their minor league systems a pitch clock, and it's shaved down games, 10 or 15 minutes. There's really no difference besides 10 or 15 minutes that have been shaved down. I think America is just kind of bored from baseball, given that, football and basketball have kind of trumped over our, America's pastime, not only just with the speed of the game and what's going on with it, but just kind of the celebrity status of it. Mm-hmm. I think if there were more celebrity athletes that were participating in baseball, that maybe more people would pay attention.
But the thing, I feel like you have that. The baseball just does a terrible job promoting them. And any player that kind of, to go refer back to the Giants, I feel like MLB as a whole is kind of like the Giants organization, where they want good old boys who shut up and play. They don't want any sort of flair. And anytime there is any sort of flair, they try and curb that, or they say this isn't the way baseball should be played. Like, you shouldn't behave that type of way, when it's like, that kind of stuff is entertaining to watch, and that's the type of stuff that's going to bring fans in. Like the whole bat flipping controversy that was going on for a while there, like that stuff was entertaining. That was fun to watch.
Right.
A batter crush a ball and know that it was crushed and and take pride in it and flip the bat. Like everybody wasn't doing that, but those few players who were, it was fun to watch because that that was part of their personality.
You've got to think about it from the standpoint of sports that are already popular. Okay, the NFL, people are already complaining that the game is too long. For the NBA, that's perfect. That's perfect. It's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You never really have action stop or break. With baseball and the generation that we have right now, where I can order something with the touch of my finger, I can search something with the sound of my voice, I get instant gratification anytime, every time.
Well,
with this particular sport, I think the younger generation is turned off by it because who wants to watch 9 innings of baseball that's could be 4 hours, could be 5 hours. But on average, it's probably 3 hours and 50 minutes. To some people, that's too long.
I mean, it might be, but at the same time, I think there is an inherent difference in the games that you just mentioned, where football is this high energy game, lots of stuff going on. You got big hits. There's there's something going on.
That's what the young generation wants. They want.
But I think there's I think there's a way that you can still entice the young generation because, like you said, there's an inherent difference between football and the energy that comes with that sport. There's a lot of energy with basketball and the fact that it's just constant. It's always back and forth. There's always scoring going on. And just the players, you can see them. And so you can kind of get a sense of their personalities. Baseball is if you're actually at the game, to me, that's like such a family oriented sport where that's the reason why people go to spring training game. Like, and you see kids out there just running around and do it. Like, it's a different kind of feel like that you get with baseball, especially if you're there. Now, the way that I feel that you can make the game more enticing if you're not actually physically at a game is I found it interesting whenever they had players mic'd up and you can kind of hear what they're saying, maybe not directly talking to a commentator or whatever, but I feel like you could do that as well. You could talk to, the managers throughout the game. You could talk to outfielders or whatever, or first baseman, like to have to have first baseman mic'd up, because you always see first baseman talking to whoever's on base. So to be kind of get a, an inside look at or inside hear of like what they're talking about, like, and to hear, just kind of like what players are saying throughout the game. Like, I feel like that's a way to incorporate the sport in a way that other sports can't do because they're not standing around. They don't have that kind of downtime to just be able to talk. The other day they had Trevor Bauer mic'd up and you could hear what he was talking. You could hear him talking to himself and stuff like that while he was on the mound. That was so entertaining. It was fun to hear him throw a curveball.
It's entertaining, but the way that society has kind of formed with TV
but you also that goes in.
How can we get the young generation to like the game when we know that my nieces or my sons or your sons one day, they want it now. We want scoring now. We don't want to sit around for all this stuff that's going on. I think that's just baseball,
I mean, I don't necessarily, obviously that plays a part into it, but at the same time, I don't think that that's necessarily a huge thing that I don't think that's such a big deterrent that people think it is. I just think that baseball has limited the way people are able to consume the sport. You already see it where games are blacked out. Like, why are you blacking out games? Like, put that stuff on Twitter. Like, I was watching an NBA game on Twitter the other day. Like, why can't I do that with the baseball game?
Right.
Like, put that stuff where people have more access to watch it on more platforms.
It's 162 games.
But if people are constantly trying to
do that,
but if people are constantly trying to consume content and you're in a zone where there's no football going on, there's no basketball going on, but people still want to consume content, then put your content there for people to consume.
Right.
People are going to watch whatever that is handed to them.
Right.
If you put it in front of them, people will watch it.
Popular sport in North America, mainly in the US, how can it compete with a sport like NBA? How can it compete with a sport like the NFL when you know that the NFL is one, 2, or 3 days a week? You got Thursday, you got Sunday, and you got Monday. It's 16 games a year. You got the playoffs, and it's done. NBA, 82 games, which the NBA was even talking about shortening its season. Do you think that the MLB season is too long? Do you think that Bryce Harper is right for saying, well, if you don't want to come to the games, then don't watch baseball? Is that a deterrent to some people?
No, I don't think it is. I mean,
that it's just true.
No, I think baseball is fine. I think the length of the season is totally fine. People come to expect for baseball seasons to last as long as they do. Like, that's what's expected now. And to have a shorter season, I think is a little ridiculous. You know, I think the amount of games that they play is fine. Yeah, it can get a little long, but who gives a crap? Like, that's just the way the sport goes. Like,
it's just coming from a baseball fan.
Well, yeah, and ex-baseball players, but like, I don't think there's anything wrong with the game of baseball per se. I just think that baseball needs to do a better job of creating ways to provide content for people, because I think the content's there. I just think they're failing and don't have the creativity to really capitalize upon what's just sitting right in front of them.
Well, they're kind of old in their ways, and I don't think that you should tamper with baseball too much. They tried to bring in someone like Kyler Murray that could bring the young generation inside of the game that they've hardly ever watched. I think that bringing in more stars like that and promoting more stars like that is going to get the young people involved, if that's what your intention is. You got to think about the demographics of baseball, man. It ain't you and me at the age that we're at. I can tell you that right now. That's not what's getting eyeballs on the MLB. How can we get more eyeballs on the MLB like you and me, whether it be our color or our age and younger? How can the MLB do that and bringing in more eyeballs like us?
Like I said, I think just one easy way is just, like, the big thing for me was, I found the most interesting was the ability to mic up players. Like, to have a player mic'd up while at the plate, I think is cool, because we all know, I mean, you played, I played, and when you're at the plate, you kind of talk to yourself a little bit. Especially, like, it would be entertaining to listen to Bryce Harper at the plate. He swings and whiffs on a pitch that he knows he should have hit, and he's like, God damn it. Like, he gets a little frustrated with himself.
Right.
Or who knows if the catcher's talking a little mess to him a little bit, who knows? But to be able to have that opportunity to listen on certain situations, I think is one way that you can provide new creative content that people, I feel, would be interested in.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely have to get back on that another day. That's definitely going to be a trending topic as the year goes on. But Bryce Harper is a Philly, and he is openly recruiting your boy, Mike Trout. Yeah. I want to talk about a story, man, last night. Know that we were texting last night. I mean, maybe you thought that I was just on some other stuff, but how close was Vegas? I told you. They do this for a reason, man. This is why they're in business the way that they are, and they win the way that they do. Okay. Yeah. We're talking about Champions League. We had a couple of ball games today. Yeah. For you football fans out there, this is not football with two O's. Juventus defeated Atletico Madrid 3-0 today.
Such a good game.
Your boy Ronaldo had a hat trick, but Man City destroyed Schalke 7-0. The reason why we're talking about this today is because I had actually sent Keenan a text last night, and it was actually about the Man City Schalke game. And I said, you see this line? I sent a screenshot of a line last night that Vegas had put out the day before. And they basically had, the underdog and and the favorite. The favorite was Man City, minus 850 on the money line. So basically, you'd have to put down $850 to win $100. And Yeah, it's crazy, right? And the other line was plus 1900 for Schalke. So for anybody who's not a regular, wager or better, if you put down $1, that's you're basically going to win 19 bucks. So $100 would win you $1,900. So I actually said to him last night, I said, you see how lopsided this line is? I said, Vegas either knows something that we don't know, or someone's not playing, or somebody's hurt or suspended, because I guarantee you 100% that Man City is going to destroy Schalke. And how did you respond?
I was like, I mean, I can see it happening. I wouldn't be surprised if Schalke plays well and gives them a little bit of a run for their money. Like, who knows? I was trying to look on the bright side. I like to root for the underdog, even though I do like Man City a lot, but I like to root for the underdog. And I was just kind of like trying to find a way to maybe Schalke could upset them and that money line could come to fruition. But as we saw today, that was probably the furthest thing from the truth.
I told you, man. I said, hey,
7-0.
I said,
Man
hey,
City
man,
over
this
Schalke.
is what's gonna happen. I said, I said, because for anybody else, just to kind of explain to you, they were heavy, heavy, heavy favorites.
And Man City was at home, so
Man City was at home, but usually in a game like this where both teams are going into the next round, it's somewhat even. The first game was a little like Man City was the favorite, but Schalke was not the underdog like this. I mean, they were maybe like plus 450 or something like that on the money line. I mean, we're talking about big time money that it was just a dead giveaway. I mean, there's a reason why that they had it that way. But the glaring thing that I want to talk to you about is because we got into it last night about, well, if we're going to bet Schalke, what would you do? Well, the line on Man City, the spread was minus 2.5 goals. So basically, Vegas slated Man City to win by at least 3 goals. Well, they did.
They literally doubled that prediction.
They doubled the prediction.
Over-doubled that prediction.
Dude.
That was embarrassing.
Is it not freaky? Is it not? Now do you understand like why I kind of look at sports the way that I do? Like I do look at talent. I do look at who's on the field. I do take in consideration, who's at home and who's at not, and maybe the weather or whatever it may be. But why is it that Vegas is always so close? Is that not weird to you?
I do find it a little weird that line was out, because the one thing that I will say is, and one thing that I was saying last night, is that I felt like depending on whatever Man City's lineup was going to be, would tell me how much they were really going for. And Man City threw out their top-notch lineup, and you got top-notch results. Absolutely. So I was like, if they throw out kind of like their B team, then I feel like Schalke kind of has a chance to, make that line in their favor come true. Whereas with the lineup that they had with Sane and Sterling, that's the lineup that they roll with that they would play with, a Real Madrid with. So, I thought it was dependent on their lineup, and their lineup was their A+ team, and you got an A+ result.
Absolutely. And sometimes, man, I don't even have to look at the damn lineup. I could just see hey.
But my thing is if for Vegas, you don't get that lineup ahead of time. So how do you know that they're gonna go? How do you know they're gonna go full speed? Especially because what I was saying last night.
What I do.
But I was saying last night, you don't know with the position that Man City's in, like you can probably guess that they'll probably go through. They'll probably beat Schalke, and they're in the middle of this race for first place in the EPL. So why not maybe give some players some rest so they can be ready for
Exactly.
EPL games?
Exactly.
But they didn't do that.
No, I mean, and that's what I'm saying is I hate to look at sports that way, man. I just want to see it as a clean, fair called game and may the best team win. But no, heck no.
Vegas
No,
has
I don't
clouded
see
you.
it that way anymore. I see it. I'm
You're
a
jaded from
conspiracy
betting.
theorist now when it comes to sports, bro. Conspiracy theorist,
That's
bro.
hilarious.
I see the line and I'm like, that's weird. Why is Schalke plus 1900? That's a sucker bet. They just want everybody to put their money on Schalke.
Yeah.
Why? What's the reasoning? Why is it really that lopsided? Like, usually it should be kind of like if there's going to be an underdog, it should be kind of close, but that was just glaring. Okay.
Yeah, you did say that. And the
what
result
happened
was
there?
glaring.
And they got their what? 7-0?
I think the thing that's crazy too, you know, to just kind of
7-0?
finish this off, even though it's not really related to betting, Schalke, I believe, in that first leg went up 2-0.
Yeah.
So literally, Man City came back from down 2-0 to beat them 2-11.
Oh my God.
Like, what is that? Double digits.
Remember when I texted I texted you today, I was like, 2-0. Need one more to clear. He was like
I was all caught up in the Juventus game, and all of a sudden I like check. I'm looking at these text messages from you, like 3-0. Good lord,
bro! I didn't even have any, I had zero interest in watching Juventus, even though I watched the second half.
Serious? That game was so good.
Oh, the game was great. I ended up watching the second half. The first half, I was like, you know what? I want to see how, like, because this is the game that we were really getting into last night. I was like, I really want to see how accurate they are. I just want to see if it truly is luck or if there is some sort of like they know something that we don't know.
Well, I'll be interested to see what the lines are going forward. Like now I feel more invested into what the lines are for these next games are going to be and how accurate they are. That's what I'm going to be paying attention to now.
The better the competition goes, the better the competition gets, the harder it is to read. But
I think so then the good kind of indicator will be because I'm pretty sure Juventus is set to play Porto next, which is kind of a lopsided matchup to a degree. So,
let me see what that line looks like.
We'll see what those lines look like.
Absolutely. So tomorrow we do have a couple of great slated games tomorrow. We got Barcelona versus Lyon, and we've got Bayern and Liverpool. Obviously, whoever wins pushes through. Who you taking in the Barcelona-Lyon game to push through?
I guess I'll take Barcelona, even though I don't want to.
I got Barca too. Bayern or Liverpool to push through?
I'm going to go with Liverpool.
Okay, I'm going to differ from you. I'm going to go with the Big Red Machine, FC Hollywood.
So Liverpool.
Bayern, baby, to push through. We definitely will be updating on you guys what actually happened for tomorrow. But we got a little game for you guys. Kenny and I are going to have a little competition tonight.
Oh,
it is the name game. I know that you guys are like, oh, what's this? Like, what are you guys doing? Okay, anybody that's listening to us right now can definitely participate at this moment in time. You've got 20 seconds to find out whatever it is the question that we ask, and you name as many teams as you can. Now, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off since this is our first time doing this. And then obviously I do the same thing too, but you give me something different. So I'm going to keep mark and I'm going to set my timer. Let me get my timer out. Let me get my timer out. The first question here, Keenan, is going to be you have 20 seconds to name as many professional teams that start with the letter S. Okay.
S.
Give me a second.
Oh gosh.
Start with the letter S. This is professional teams. It doesn't matter what sport it is. It doesn't matter. You've got 20 seconds starting now.
Seahawks, Saints, not Seminoles. Schalke. You got. Did I say Seahawks already? Yes, I did. God dang, this is hard actually. Suns. Oh my God. Why am I blanking?
One.
That's so terrible. That was so bad.
Got four. You got four,
so
dude.
Bad.
You got four. You got four.
That was
okay.
Absolutely
so
horrendous.
obviously. Okay, so you need to keep count.
Okay, so I got four.
Go ahead and get your timer out.
All right.
Obviously, I'm not going to do the letter S. But you can pick whatever letter you want.
Okay.
Man, don't do anything crazy, man.
I'm not gonna give you like X or nothing. Like I'm not gonna give you nothing crazy like that.
Dude.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I am going to name as many teams as you can.
Wait.
What?
When is the timer going off?
I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you the same kind of countdown that you gave me. I'm not gonna cheat you. Come on, now.
Right.
I got more integrity than that.
Keenan is up 4-0. Right now, Keenan is up 4-0.
It's not a big margin. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So name as many teams as you can that start with the letter R. 3, 2, 1.
The Red Wings. The Rangers. The Houston Rockets. Oh my God.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh.
You got 3. You did worse than I did.
Because I wanted to say the New York Rangers and the Texas Rangers, but I don't know if you would have counted that or not.
Of course I would have counted. It's 2 different
Damn!
teams.
I would have tied you.
I thought you would have said the Reds or something.
All right, so Keenan is won the first round.
God, now I feel like I know what it's like to be on Family Feud.
Okay, so all right, second round. Keenan, you have 20 seconds to name as many college teams from the state.
Oh God, I'm terrible.
What?
I'm so bad with college.
You have 20 seconds to name as many teams, college teams, and you could give university or the mascot, doesn't matter, as long as it's in this state. You have 20 seconds to name as many college teams from the state of Florida. 3, 2, 1, go.
Central Florida, Miami, Florida State. I said the Seminoles, right? Did I say Seminoles? Florida State. You got Florida.
Four.
I'll take 4.
All I gotta beat is 4, baby. Don't give me nothing crazy like the state of
Rhode Island.
Well, you got the University of Rhode Island, Rhode Island State.
All right.
All right, 4.
All right.
Jeez.
Name as many colleges from the state of.
Oh God.
God, I'm trying not to give you like a crazy easy one, but like also like not a hard one. How about fuck it, I California.
Okay, let me know when I'm ready.
3. Hold on, sorry. 3, 2, 1.
USC, UCLA, Pepperdine, San Diego State, University of San Diego, Concordia University,
5,
Saddleback,
4, 3, 2,
Sacramento
1.
State.
Done.
How many I get?
You got 7.
All right. Round 2 is mine. Tiebreaker. All right. Okay. Keenan, I got something for you, bro.
Oh gosh.
You got 20 seconds to name as many teams as you can, whether it be college or professional, that start. I'm sorry. You got 20 seconds, whether it be professional or college, whose mascot is a bird. 3, 2, 1, go.
Seahawks, Falcons, Cardinals, Blue Jays, Liverpool Redbirds. You got the got Arizona Cardinals. You got the St. Louis Cardinals. You got the Atlanta Hawks. You got damn.
Five,
That was
six,
tough.
seven,
God damn it!
seven,
Why didn't I
eight.
say
You
the
got eight.
Ravens? Why did
You
I
got
not say the
eight.
Ravens?
You got 8. You got 8. All right.
I'll take that.
Yeah. All right, I'm ready, bro. Give me whatever, bro. I'm ready, bro. Anything. It don't matter, man. Let's go, man. This is so hilarious.
Give me mascots that have cats.
All right, let me know when I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
The Detroit Lions, the Nashville Predators, the Kentucky Wildcats.
5, 4,
Come on,
3,
come on.
1.
Yeah!
You got 3, bro.
Man, shut up.
1. I came back and won.
Man, come on, man.
I can't believe I won.
Bro, I know
You
there's
didn't say the Jaguars.
the Jaguars, the Panthers. Bro, too much pressure, bro. So Keenan has won our inaugural main game. He is up 1-0. I will be coming back in this as episodes come along. He wins a grand total of $0. We do not have any sponsors at this moment in time. But Keenan Duke is now up 1-0 in the name game. Congratulations on winning our inaugural event.
Thank you so much.
I will be getting you next time. As we wrap up, folks, I've got my locks of the week. God, I can't believe I couldn't name any more cats than that. Are you serious?
I thought I gave you a good one. I didn't. That one's not too tough. Like there's plenty of cats.
Predators over
The Jacksonville Jaguars.
I know. What am I thinking?
I don't know.
I'm like thinking of stuff
I
like
thought you were gonna say like Kentucky Wildcats or something.
I said the Kentucky Wildcats, the Detroit Lions.
Oh, okay. I don't even remember the other one you said.
I don't remember the other
the Predators. The Predators was the third
one. Predators.
One. Yeah.
Jeez. I got my locks of the week this week, boys and girls. I think Miami Heat are going to cover by 1 point tomorrow at home against the Pistons. The Pistons are not necessarily the best team in the East, and neither is Miami, but Miami's at home, and they've got the power of Dwayne Wade. I see them winning 1 point. Barcelona, I think they're going to come out and crush Lyon tomorrow by at least 2 goals. I think they'll be able to cover. Look for that game tomorrow. That's going to be a great match. And Clemson to cover over NC State in the second round of the ACC tournament by 6.5 points. And I actually want them on the money line, and I think they're going to win, even though I believe they're not going to win the ACC tournament. I'm still a little disappointed I lost that name game. It's okay.
It's okay. Maybe if we put money on it, it'll be more motivating.
No, I probably still would have came up with 3. I mean,
no, it's actually tough. It's a lot harder than
it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. Until next time, boys and girls, we've got more free agent talk. We've got the MLB opening day here coming out pretty soon. NBA playoffs is approaching. March Madness is approaching.
Yep.
And who knows what the heck might happen in between then with any sport. And we'll definitely be covering it. But Keenan, it's been excellent tonight.
It has.
I need to brush up on my mascots, bro.
Yeah, me too. I need to pay attention to college more. That's what I found out. I do not.
Boys and girls, it's been great. This is Sports Drink Club. I am one half member of it. My boy Keenan Duke. Hey, have a good night's sleep.
You too.
Drinks up, baby.
Drinks up, man.
We'll see you next time.
All right, holla.